Peace, love, and cheers. I dedicate this video to the terminology Holonarchy, a word I picked up in college in a class 2 or 3 years back, peace psychology. Holonarchy is an interesting word in contrast to hierarchy, and in many regards, the word Holon in Holonarchy, Holon, means the whole. And every whole has parts that complete it. And all parts that are compartmentalized, if you will, from the whole, the symbiosis of the whole, networks, matrix, whether we're talking about the matrices of ecologies, the matrices of societies, the matrices of this entire cosmos or physical reality. All of these wholes have parts that can be compartmentalized and rationalized by the mind, but all parts themselves have the whole that resonates within them. Because any individual part that changes affects the whole in and of itself. Now, this is a strong contrast to hierarchies, which becomes our social matrices, if you will. Social matrix. This is to say that hierarchy ranks the individual parts that make up the whole. This is why if you ever take a college course in the 21st century about sociology, one of the fundamental theories you will learn about is conflict theory. And conflict theory is all about seeing society in the regulation of the haves and the have-nots. In contrast to this, you will also learn of a fundamental theory. There are 3 main theories you'll learn right off the bat. Conflict theory, mediating of haves and have-nots. And structural functionalism theory, which sees society as a living organism. All parts resonate to the whole. See, this is coming right off the whim. I wasn't thinking about using this comparison, but this actually fits perfectly, I think. From a structural functionalistic perspective, it is society being a living organism means it's seeing it through the filter of Holonarchy, because it's recognizing that every part, whether it be the education system, the military system, the Medicare system, all these different parts of our society, of our government, if any of them changes, the whole changes. Whereas conflict theory sees society in the perspective of hierarchy, of classism, which inevitably always leads to oligarchy, the few in this hierarchical design controlling the many, the pyramid, Illuminati. So, where we find ourselves now, in the 21st century, you could say is a reconstruction of social order to try to go back full cycle to the Holonarchical design. I know, what... Thinking out loud, I don't know what I just said that last sentence either. Give me a... So, 3 theories. You take a college course in sociology, Sociology 101, 3 main theories. Structural functionalism, seeing society through the lens of Holonarchy. That is to say, society's a living organism, and all the different parts affect the whole, therefore all the parts have the whole that exists within them. Then you have conflict theory, seeing society in the regulation of the have and have-nots, and this is why it is said that poverty, for instance, is not an accident. You know, classism, oligarchy, few controlling the many. And Then you have symbolic interactionism. And symbolic interactionism is fascinating because it's based on symbols, seeing society in that of symbols. I grew up in Northern California. I grew up in the town where Sierra Nevada. Yeah, there's a symbol right there. This symbol, anytime I see it, I will think of this. Anytime it's around my environment and I'm not conscious of it, I'm still absorbing it. And this is what symbolic interactionism is all about. In some ways, you could say that symbolic interactionism really shows and highlights our inner capacity of programming ourselves in our social matrix or reality. And this is where conscious evolution in the form of the human experience takes its place in many regards, I suppose. Hope you love listening, because I love pondering these things. Now, one last thing I wanted to mention in correspondence to Holonarchy in this concept. For one, a great example of Holonarchy is ecology. And ecology, in many regards, Mother Earth, she teaches us true democracy. Because true democracy resonates equality when we're all living symbiotically with our own birthright, in our own birthright. And we do this when we live in a holonarchical state. There's natural equality and power is yielded collectively, kind of like the celestial prophecy. We as human beings take energy from each other because we live in this world of scarcity where we forget of our infinite abundance and our infinite energy within. That's the same thing, is that our infinite abundance within is the whole that resonates. And that whole is seen externally everywhere around us. But it's still within us. We all are agents of change. And to think that change is something that like we either do or we don't do, right? We either live our lives or we wasted it. That's a hierarchical thought programming, right? That's programming your subconscious that in many regards is false. It's simply not true. To be an agent of change is not to be seen in measures of ranking, in measures of, oh, you did more change than that. It's not this measure of one-upmanship, as Alan Watts would put it, that we all are always, we're indoctrinated in, with classism and all that. No, the change and being an agent of change is simply inescapable. We exist, therefore we are change. And the more we humble ourselves with this or recognize this, the more we can see further progression in our lives than lack of. But all blessings are lessons and lessons are blessings. So even a life perceived to be a waste provides a priceless gift in that curse. As all lessons are blessings, lessons are like the curse, I guess, and the blessings are the gift. But that's the thing with Holonarchy, is its natural democracy. And I'd like to also point out something interesting. I forget where I absorbed this bit of information, but you could also see Holonarchy from the perspective of the principle of gender. For those of you that know about the Hermetic principles, the 7 Hermetic teachings, the principle of gender, if I recall, correct me if I'm wrong, is the 7th and last principle, and it pretty much talks about the masculine and the feminine in terms that, you know, hierarchical social matrix. You think masculine and feminine, right away you think about gender conformity or gender boxes. But masculine and feminine from a, say, a sacred geometrical perspective is much more than this. You can see out here, beautiful Mother Earth and stuff. There's curves, everything's imperfect, and yet the building I'm in, for instance, it's straight lines, you know, produced and designed by the mind. So the building is masculine from a sacred geometrical perspective. The nature and the trees and the leaves, it's feminine because it's curvy. Another interest, pointing this out. Why? Pointing this out because, again, when you look at the definition of holonarchy, every whole has a part that exists. Every part has the whole that exists within itself. Therefore, every part affects the whole. The whole, the holon in holonarchy, is feminine energy. The whole, collectivism, looking in between the lines, being creative and spontaneous in that regards. And the parts that mingle in the whole is a good representation of masculine energy. Because the parts is where you see A, B, C. 1, 2, 3. ABC, 1, 2, 3. Where did that come from? Abracadabra, co-create your reality. I'll leave on this note. Peace, love, and cheers.